love spirit. To honor the spirit and celebrate the life of one whose strength and devotion bestowed blessings upon those around him. We have gathered to acknowledge both grief and gratitude. And we will mourn, for mourn we must, let this also be a time for remembering and celebrating the person Andy was. And for this to be a time for affirming the kind of life which he lived. He touched all our lives in different ways, all of them special and unique. Andy was born on October 19th in 1953 at Evanston Hospital to Andrew Davison Singleton and Sue Burkhart Singleton. He earned his nickname of Rusty because of his red hair in his first year, and it stuck. And throughout his childhood and in the scouting realm, he was always known as Rusty, and it wasn't until college that he began using his given name of Andy. Andy and his sister Ann remember being a close family, eating dinner together every night and playing a lot of games in their family, especially ping pong, caroms, and card games. She and Andy also remember doing a lot, and that's in capitals, a lot of fishing with their dad. Andy mostly grew up in Northfield, Illinois, where he was active on baseball teams and in Boy Scouting. In high school, he played clarinet in the school orchestra, and following in his father's footsteps was on the track and field team as a shot putter. In fact, he still holds the New Trier West School record for shot. During his high school and college years, Rusty continued his scouting career by serving on camp staff for 6 years at Camp Makajuan in the north woods of Wisconsin. He is remembered as one of the most beloved trading post operators there, and then went on to manage an elaborate commissioner site where he taught the scout campers the skills of how to camp, cook, and to live in the woods. His campfire apple cobblers were legendary, as was his very smooth camp coffee. After high school, Andy went to Ripon College in Wisconsin for 2 years, where he had way too much fun in his fraternity and as a DJ and tech crew for the college radio station, much to the detriment of his academics. So he came home to become a commuter student at Harvard Junior College, where he was a straight A student, was a camera and sound operator for the college TV station, and received his associate's degree in mathematics. He then commuted for a year to Lake Forest College, then was a residential student for his senior year, graduating in 1977 with a bachelor's in psychology. While at Lake Forest, he became station manager for the college radio station and catalyzed a Star Trek club that met in his dorm suite. At Lake Forest College, Andy met Deb in calculus class. And studying with Deb was actually how he succeeded in passing the class. Along the way, he convinced her to become a DJ for the college radio station, turned her into an avid camper and outdoorswoman, and fell in love with her. They were married in 1979. They lived in Chicago for 2 years, then Evanston as Deb got her master's at Northwestern, then settled in Deerfield for 33 years. Andy enjoyed a long career in the information technology arena, especially for credit card processing companies. As product and product manager, he knew the technical aspects, but was even more admired for his creative troubleshooting, consensus and team building. Does this sound like the Andy we know? Customer service and outstanding communication skills. Deb and Andy shared a deep, sweet, gentle love that infused all they did together. They were best friends, confidence, life partners, soulmates, and beloved spouses. They always said, and they always did, make a great team. They were blessed to be able to adopt both Alexis and Sean at birth, Alexis in 1990 and Sean in 1994. Alexis's adoption was an open adoption, so the Singletons have enjoyed an ongoing, richly delightful relationship with Alexis's birth family, a relationship marked by mutual love, trust, and respect. To best meet the kids' learning needs, Deb and Andy homeschooled their kids all the way through to high school graduation. Though Deb was the primary educator for them, Andy supplemented their studies in fun and creative ways. Andy completely supported the decision to include Veronica Sidney in their homeschooling for 6 years and Brendan Stewart for 3 years, becoming a second dad to each of them in turn. Since 1990, North Shore Unitarian Church has been a spiritual home that has allowed Deb and Andy to seek their spiritual truth, raise their children to honor all faith traditions, live out their values through social action, and be embraced by a beloved community. Andy was involved and very much a part of the life of this congregation in so many ways. He donated many creative experiences for Heart in Hand, our annual auction event. He helped with art fair and rummage sale, doing whatever needed to be done, creating a greater sense of community and boosting volunteer participation. He founded the Eco Group, an environmental task force, and was involved in all aspects. He conceived, championed, recruited for, and managed the Seventh Principle Project, a very successful 2-year project involving over 100 people and 12 separate major initiatives for the purpose of enabling this church to receive Green Sanctuary certification. He was a dedicated religious education teacher and youth group advisor for innumerable years. He served on the nominating committee and was a pledge drive volunteer, and he was tech crew for all Heart and Hand musical and also for videotaping special services like this one. He was a member of the Voluntary Simplicity Covenant group for several years and Building the World We Dream About group this past year. In 2013, when Andy was let go from his job, the Singletons lost several loved ones, and they endured a house fire and its far-reaching aftermath. And throughout all of this, the North Shore Unitarian Church community was always there for them. Months later, Andy developed a serious and degenerative lung condition, most likely as a consequence of the fire. Holistic treatments worked wonders in 2014, but in late 2015, Andy began to get weaker and have greater shortness of breath. Anxiety is a natural byproduct of lung conditions. In the spring, Andy began having issues with hyperventilating. He tackled it courageously, going on oxygen in April, beginning mindfulness practices and working hard to exercise. But medical complications kept setting him back, and he grew more and more exhausted. The final setback was blood clots in the lungs, and after 8 stressful months of struggling with anxiety and working bravely to rebuild his strength, he died peacefully with family surrounding him and Deb in his arms, singing and talking to him. Throughout his lifetime, Andy worked tirelessly for environmental and social justice causes. He mentored countless youth in scouting, in the homeschool community, and as an exploring advisor, youth group advisor, and coming-of-age mentor. In all his actions, he worked to build community, live with integrity, respect and empower each person whose lives he touched, and constantly broaden the circle of his love. I only had the blessing and privilege of knowing Andy for the last 2 years here at North Shore Unitarian Church, and came to admire him and respect him for his generous presence and his spirit. He always had a smile and a warm welcome for anyone whom he met and was ready to help in any way. The term that I have heard so often to describe Andy was that he was a gentle giant. And that was indeed the man I was so blessed to get to know. So, by our presence here this afternoon, we pay tribute to this man, who was an important part of our lives and the lives of many others, and to show our love and respect for the person he was. We have also come together this afternoon to show our love and support for Andy's family, for Deb, for Alexis, for Sean, for Anne and Twyla and Jean, and many others. Their loss is sharp and deep. We cannot enter their grief with them. We cannot feel their loss. What we can do is stand with them, care for them, and offer them what love does give, the strength of caring, the warmth of those who seek to understand. This we can do in quiet ways, that on their walk through grief they do not walk alone. And tears, and there will be tears, there have been tears, there will be tears, are as natural to us as smiles. It is through memory that the links to the past are forged, and out of the sadness of death and the ache of love can come new strength to go on. Memory is part of the healing process that brings together life and death as a mark of gratitude and an expression of love. So keep telling your stories of Andy. This is not the end of telling those stories. This is the beginning of telling those stories. Remember them, give them voice, for it is through memory that we recognize that the world is a place where always an infant is being born, and that at every moment there is a daybreak. It is where we remember that the greatest gift is life, and loving and being loved in return. In this way, love is always stronger than death. And so we have come together. It is right and fitting that we should do so, for human life is sacred. It is sacred in its being born, it is sacred in its living, and it is sacred in its ending. We may struggle with the mystery of death. We may protest its choice of season, day, and hour. We may rail against the loss of loved one, parent, and friend. But here together, in the quiet of this space, we search our minds and hearts. We search the quiet times, the sad times, the happy times. We seek the healing which time and only time can bring. In all of these, we remain glad that one such as Andy entered our lives, blessed our days, and still lives in our hearts. O source of life and love, of mystery and hope, be with us now as we make these moments love's moments, and these simple rites, love, celebration, and thanksgiving for Andy's life and